All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us for the February 6, 2023 Job Search Help from the Tewksbury Library. Today's talk is entitled How to Improve Your Interviewing Skills. In this interactive role-playing workshop, learn how to prepare for different types of interviews. You will be asked the 15 most important interview questions and how to answer them. And this is led by Joyce Mandel, who's the owner of JMGM Employability Training, an employment specialist with more than 15 years of experience providing employability skills workshops geared towards both youth and adults. And as I mentioned, Joyce is joined by her husband, Michael, who has I guess a long career in personnel matters. Yeah, exactly. So all 56 of us, let's give a big virtual round of applause to Joyce for joining us this afternoon. And Joyce, you can take it away. Thanks so much.
With that introduction, Robert, I'm going to find it very hard to be a second, person here. You know what I mean? Anyway, guys, this is a lot of people for me. So I'm going to make sure that it's a great job. But anyway, I'm coming to you from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I actually, how can I say this? I absolutely love Massachusetts. I went to school in Boston a long time ago. I went to BU. And for every vacation, I kind of schlepped my husband back to Boston because I just love Boston so much. So what we do is every year now for 3 months, we actually live in Boston. I was telling Robert that. So my heart is with everybody in Massachusetts. Even if it was 4 degrees on Saturday, I still wish I was there. Although it was about 82 degrees here, I have to tell you that. Anyway, I'm not going to rub it in because Robert will take me off the screen. Anyway, I'm here to do interviewing with you. And I brought Michael in because he worked for Miami-Dade County for a very long period of time and was in personnel and did a lot of interviewing. So I really needed his, not so much his expertise, but somebody to ask me the questions. So I would be able to answer them and then explain why I answered them the way I answered them. So please, if you have any questions, Robert said that you'll put up your hand virtually, right? And I'll see the person, right, with the question when their hand is up.
Yeah, so actually, Joyce, if someone has a question, I would prefer they type it in the chat. But if somebody wants to then answer your question, because I guess you're going to call for volunteers afterwards.
Yes.
If you want to volunteer, I would raise your virtual hand.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so before we start, let me just give you the definition of an interview. An interview is a conversation where questions are asked and answers are given. The word interview refers to one-on-one conversation between an interviewer and an interviewee. And what I always tell people is they can have the greatest cover letter, the greatest resume. Oh my God, look at this resume. This person looks terrific. And then they get in with the interview and they can't answer my questions. So I really think it's important that you interview correctly and really work on these skills, because without good interview skills, you will not get the job. I don't care how great your resume is. You have to be able to answer their questions. And sometimes it's kind of hard because you really don't know what they're looking for. And everybody gets nervous. I'm sure everybody gets nervous before an interview. Okay, so before we start with the questions, you're going for an interview. How can you calm yourself? How can you take off some of the anxiety that you're feeling, the morning of the interview or the afternoon, even if it's a virtual interview? Okay, the first tip is avoid caffeine. So if you are a coffee drinker, I'm sort of like 1 cup, I wouldn't drink coffee, or I would really make sure it's decaf. Okay, that would be the first thing. Okay, secondly, I'm sure this is a silly point, but avoid alcohol. Sure, nobody gets up in the morning and drinks, but avoid alcohol also. Any type of caffeine or alcohol. And If you go to the gym, it's great to exercise in the morning because that takes away a lot of the stress, and drink a lot of water. That's really important because water hydrates you and it will make you feel better. And I really think the exercising is a really good thing to do. I'm going to do tomorrow and I want to be this over beforehand. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so exercising is really, 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 really good to do. I get up every morning and I swim, and it just relaxes me and it just makes me feel better and it just makes me really ready for the day. And I did that when I was interviewing. And I also got up very early when I went to work because it just made me feel better about myself and more focused. So I would suggest if you get anxiety, to definitely avoid caffeine, maybe drink decaf, of course, alcohol, exercise, drink water. And it's a good idea also to talk to somebody. Oh,
so,
okay.
Joyce, you
Yeah.
don't have to respond to every comment or question in the chat.
Okay.
I'll keep an eye on it. Don't worry about it.
Thanks. Okay, so anyway, it's those are really great ways to calm anxiety. Also, you could talk to somebody. Like when I used to get very nervous in an interview, and I knew I had an interview, I would talk to my husband, Michael, the night before, and he would kind of calm me down and ask me some questions, or I would practice in front of a mirror and kind of watch my response. So all of these things kind of made me feel less anxious. And that's really important because you don't want to go in feeling really anxious. You want to just have a clear mind and be calm and peaceful and just kind of listen to the questions and kind of, just think of your answers while you're listening. You really have to focus, which means you have to, I know I feel silly saying this to you guys, but you have to turn off your cell phones. You have to make sure you have nothing else on your mind except that interview, whether it's in person or whether it's virtual, okay? So with that in mind, I'm going to skip and start the questions because I'm afraid I'm not going to get through all 15. Does anybody have any questions about the anxiety part of it?
No questions about anxiety yet.
Okay, so we're going to get to that, Kathy. We're going to get to all the questions. Okay. So Michael's going to start asking me the first question. Now, this could be, let's just say I'm interviewing for, let's see. I was an employment specialist for 15 years, so my job is to try to find people jobs. So let's just make believe that's what I'm interviewing for, because that's really where I have a lot of my experience. Okay, so the first question is,
So, tell me about yourself.
okay, well, my name is Joyce Mandel, and I'm very happy to be here today with you interviewing. I graduated from Boston University. I have a bachelor's degree in education. I also have a master's degree. I actually live in the city of Fort Lauderdale, and very interested in the position because I love to help people, and I do have a background with trying to find people jobs and training. Okay, all right. So I'm trying to think what else. I also looked for your job, and I did find it online. Yeah, I did research it. Repeat the.
Yeah, so we did have trouble hearing Michael. So Michael's question was, what? Tell me about yourself.
Yes, Michael's question was, tell me about yourself. Okay, and so what I did was, I'm trying to look at you and try to look at Michael, but if it was an interview, I'd be looking more at Michael. Tell me about yourself. This will normally be the first question you'll get asked in an interview. Here, the interviewer is looking to get a sense of what you're like as a person and get an overview of your experience and work history. Keep your answers short and to the point, making sure you focus on the elements you really want to talk about. Be careful not to go back. And I didn't say, yes, I worked for Toys R Us, and I also did work for Recording for the Blind and Dyslexic, and I was also a social worker. I didn't go back with my whole resume. It's important to be bright, positive, and relaxed to make sure you make a great first impression. So you just want to give kind of a taste of who you are. I'm an employment specialist. I'm looking to help people, where I went to school. I do have a master's degree because that's part of job requirements. And also, I'm looking for a job here in Fort Lauderdale. So you just want to, just like a little bit of yourself, you want to tell the interviewer. Not a lot, I didn't go into I'm married. I didn't go into I had children, just a couple of things. Okay. Any questions or anything, Robert, so far? No? Okay. Does anybody want to answer this question for me? Any volunteers? No. Okay.
Not yet. So if anyone wants to answer the question, tell me about yourself, you can raise your virtual hand, or you can let me know in the chat, and we'll give it 10 seconds.
Okay.
And the next time Michael asks a question, if he could be, okay, so Bea is raising her hand. So Bea, why don't you take this one, and how would you answer, tell me about yourself?
Well, I'm so very happy to be here. So thank you for taking the interview. Grew up in the Boston area. I studied at UMass Boston with a degree in theater arts. And most of my training was in the hospitality industry. I worked for Ritz-Carlton for 37 years. Wow. And helped them establish the brand. And throughout that time frame with Ritz-Carlton, I had a number of positions, but my favorite one was the position I created called Director of Special Events and Community Affairs.
Okay, very good. Okay, but that's terrific. So that's where you would stop, kind of, okay? Because then you don't want to go into all your, right. But then I got a kind of feel for you of what you did, what you're all about.
I have a sense that you always want to leave them hanging for more.
Always, right? Always.
Okay.
Always. You don't want to give everything you've got with that first question all at once. Yeah, because they're not going to be interested to go to the second question. You know what I mean? They found it all. Right.
Thank you.
But you did good, B. Very good.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Michael, the second question, you have to talk a little bit louder. Here. The second one. Okay.
Ms. Mandel,
Yes.
what are your weaknesses?
Okay. What are my weaknesses? Well, to be honest with you, one of my weaknesses is time management. I find that I take a lot of projects at one time, and I can't seem to finish everything that I set my mind to when I make my list of things to do, so that I find myself at the end of the day, maybe working on one instead of trying to complete all of them. So I really had to kind of work on this kind of time management. And the way that I improved it is I started to make a list when I came in the morning. And instead of writing down 15 things, I would only write down 4. And I would try very hard to accomplish those 4. And I felt then that, I was able to at least feel good that I accomplished something. So I was trying to manage my time in a positive way, right? Okay, so what are your weaknesses? That's a really hard question. Because, a lot of people could say, oh, you know what, I don't have any weaknesses. Well, everybody has a weakness, definitely. And the biggest mistake you can make with this question is say that you don't have any weaknesses. The interviewer is looking to employ a human and not a robot. So avoid the answer as you risk looking arrogant. So in other words, use this question as an opportunity to identify something you would like to improve on. Identify a weakness, but then suggest ways in which you can resolve it. Employers are much more likely to respond to an answer like this, as it shows that you are willing to invest time into your own professional development and are not complacent. So my weakness was time management. That's true. So how did I try to get that not to be a weakness anymore? And that's what I did. I did every morning, actually before I left for work, when I left for work, I made a list of things I wanted to do in the morning. And I didn't put down 15, I maybe put down 3. And I was able then to complete those 3. And I felt better about myself, that, oh my God, I finally did something instead of sitting there and trying to do all this work. It was too crazy. So time management was definitely my weakness. So it's important to say your weakness and then to say how you're going to correct it. Okay. And that's really important. And of course, you're not going to say my weakness is not getting to the job on time. We don't want to hear that. Or, anything like that. You want to make sure that you say something and then you're able to say how you're going to make it not into a weakness, how you're going to work on that. Okay. So any questions with that? Nicole.
Yeah, we do. Well, so actually, no. So let's go with Stephen first. Stephen says, I've always been suspect with leading in with the phrase, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that? Because aren't we always being honest with the employer? So why would we start a statement with saying, to be honest with you?
You're asking me that question? Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's a great one because you're not always honest. I think that that's really a good way to answer that, because a lot of people aren't very honest, and that's important. That's important for it to come through in an interview, Robert, that you are a sincere person, that you are honest. And because especially with weaknesses, I mean, everybody has them. It's really how you're going to improve on it. That's what they want to see. Okay, so Joyce has a problem with time management. All right, I'm going to give her a lot of things to do. How do I know she's going to, complete all of them? Well, I'm going to make a list and I'm going to work on each one. And I feel if I don't make 15 things on a list and I do it on 3, I will be able to complete those 3. And that's honest.
Yeah, so you don't mind someone saying, to be honest with you? You don't think that's a red flag?
No, not at all.
Yep. Linda has a comment. She says that interviewees should avoid saying I'm a perfectionist as their weakness. Yeah.
Yes, because do not say that. People do not, they do not like that anymore. Okay. Yeah, definitely. You have to, Yeah.
Cindy says, time management has been my weakness as well, but I don't think I would disclose that. And so, Cindy, if you're not going to disclose it, make sure you have another weakness in mind that you can use.
Right.
Now, I see Nicole with her hand up. So, Nicole, we're not going back to question 1. We're moving on. We're on question 2. So, did you want to answer question 2? Because
yes.
Okay. So, question 2 was what is one of your weaknesses?
One of my weaknesses is I am too detail oriented, and that's one of my weaknesses.
And then, so what Joyce suggests you do is sort of explain steps that you have or will take to improve on that weakness. So what could you do to improve on being too detail oriented? So you think about that if you don't have an answer in mind, okay?
All right, sounds good.
Okay, thank you, Nicole.
You're welcome.
Okay, B, did you want to answer question 2? Or is your hand up from earlier? I don't remember. Sorry. All right, so B, you're muted. Are you trying to speak?
I think she is.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry about that.
I saw that. Yeah.
Are there any other sort of topics like time management that you see in the workplace now that you could spin it to something positive by showing how you could change it?
Okay.
Are there any other hotspot? I guess my question is, are there any other hotspots aside from time management for employees right now in the workplace that you would focus on specifically so that you could showcase how you could manage it?
I actually, time management was a really big one for me, when I was an employment specialist. I'm trying to think of I've been out of that for 5 years because I've started, after that, I started my own business. So I'm not really around a lot of people anymore. But I'm trying to think of other weaknesses that people had there that they were trying to work on. Basically, some of them was with effective communication. The people in my office weren't sometimes able to effectively communicate what they had to communicate, let's say to me, with a client, so that I would be able to place the client in a better situation. How's that? So in other words, when they were supposed to tell me something, they didn't. They never emailed it to me. They never told me. So I was really on my own. And every time I tried to approach them to ask them, the communication was not the greatest. So that was a weakness, but honestly, B, not on my part, because I really communicate well. It was on their part, and they really had to work on that. And at the end, they did a little bit. It did become better, but it only became better because they started taking classes. My boss sent them in for training. So that was really a bit, yeah. You can't communicate. That's definitely a weakness.
Yeah.
Right there. Did that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Okay, good.
All right, so Joyce, we're going to go to Wiley, who has their hand raised, and then we're going to
Okay.
move on to question 3. So
Okay.
Wiley, did you either want to answer this weakness question, or did you have a question for Joyce? And Wiley, you're muted.
Yeah, he is. Wiley, you want to come back?
I'm sorry, I couldn't
Yep.
get there from here. I had a comment more than on the communication as being a weakness. I think it would go also to the woman that said that she's too detail oriented. It's a matter of clarifying with whomever that project or whatever it is that you're working on. Make sure that you understand completely what they're looking for instead of getting too deep in the mud. Because a lot of times you'll find yourself doing things that are really overreach and unnecessary, and that is a form of the communication that you need to work on to make sure that you have a complete understanding of what someone is looking for.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. But you're absolutely right. It's just hard to do that sometimes with people that become very defensive. You know
Right.
what I mean? And don't want to hear anything that's negative. Does that make sense?
Yes, but most people, I've found that most of my bosses or most of my team members would rather have a question asked than find you spinning your wheels and wasting time on
Right.
things that
Right.
maybe they weren't clear about or they thought you were clear about.
Right.
It can be a completely just a misunderstanding, but it
Oh,
can.
right.
You know,
And that's all communication,
Right.
Yeah,
And
that's all you have to say is, I just really can't understand, Robert, what you mean. Could you please explain it to me,
right.
so that I could pick it up and, yeah. But
It doesn't
yeah.
have to be a weakness. It can be
No.
more of a, I just want to make sure that I'm going in the right direction and that
Yeah.
I'm not, so that's.
No, definitely. It doesn't have to be a weakness. I think the weakness is where people aren't open to any type of suggestions. How's that?
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm going
Right.
to do it my way, and I'm not going to listen to what she has to say. I think that's what I found when I was an employment specialist.
Right.
The communication, it just wasn't. It was tough for me from the, because
Right.
people, yeah, it was very.
It depends on who you're working with, but but if you approach it without, if you think of it as they're not being critical, they're just giving you a task. It's not being it's not a reflection on you. It's
right.
just a part of the job.
Right. And it's how you say it, right?
Yes.
It's
yes.
how you, right. It's you're not coming across like you're berating the person. You're coming across like you need their help.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's on both sides too. So.
Yes,
All right, so I do want to move on because we've done
Yes.
2 questions in a half an hour. So we're going to get
Oh
to
my
at least
God, I'm
6 of the
sorry,
questions.
Robert.
That's okay. So
Okay.
Maria and Ellen, I know you have your hands up. We'll circle back to you if it's pertinent. And then Sandy and Cindy, you've asked good questions. Cindy, I did see your first question in the chat. I'm only going to ask questions to Joyce if they fit in with the particular question she is addressing. So if it's a question that doesn't have to do with the question she's answering, I don't want to get us too off track. So hopefully there'll be some time for those at the end, but I do acknowledge I see the questions, and that's why I haven't asked them, because they're not pertinent to the particular question about weaknesses, okay?
Okay.
All right, so Joyce, we're going to move on to question number 3.
Okay, Michael?
Miss Mandel, why should we choose you for this job?
Could you
Okay.
repeat the question, Joyce? It was hard to hear it.
Yeah,
Miss Mandel, why should we choose you for this job?
Got it.
I think you should choose me for this job because number one, I have done the job before in Dade County, in Miami, and I did a terrific job. I was able to place almost 95% of my clients, and I can bring a whole different skill set to your job. I am very enthusiastic and I'm very positive, and I know I'm the best person for the job. I also have the education that you're looking for, and I have the confidence to do this job. I already did it in Miami, so I know I could do a great job for you in Fort Lauderdale. I also believe that I have really very good customer service skills. So I just feel that I am really the right person for this job. Okay, so why should we choose you for this job? The question is a difficult one, as it's basically asking you to blow your own trumpet. I love this question. And say why you are better than other candidates. However, there's a tactical way to do this, so just don't dive this. Okay, the question gives you the perfect opportunity to show you why you're suited to the job. Bear in mind that it's likely that other candidates have the same or similar qualifications as you. So here you need to show what makes you different and what skills you can bring to the role that maybe others can't. So you need to be your own cheerleaders. You need to say, you should choose me for the job because I would be the best. I've already done the job before. I'm patient, I'm understanding. I have great customer service skills. It would be a terrific fit for me. You have to toot your own horn. You have to be your own cheerleader, because if you're not your own cheerleader, nobody's going to cheerlead for you at this point. That's what I think. Okay. And I have to make Michael believe that I am the right person for the job. Thank you, Cindy. It is. You have to be your own cheerleader. So if Robert said to me, hey, Joyce, why should I have you back again next week? I'm only kidding, Robert. I would say, because I know that I could do the workshop. I did the interviewing workshop. I think I did a great job for you. I'm interactive. I'm fun. I'm informative. I take my job seriously. Okay, maybe Robert doesn't think that way about me, but I do. I think that way about myself, and I want him to think that way about me. So I'm going to toot my own horn, and I'm going to be my own cheerleader. Does that make sense? It does? Okay. So Robert, you're going to have me back next week now.
No, Cindy, I'm Joyce, sorry. Joyce, I'm booked through the end of March, so sorry. But
Yeah.
Maybe the spring.
I was only kidding anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
So why should we choose you for this job? Does anybody want to answer it before we go on to question number 4?
So raise your virtual hand if you want to answer that. Otherwise, we will move on.
Trying to get some, yeah.
Give it 5 more seconds. All right, I think we're moving on. Let me see. There's a comment in the chat.
I saw that.
Is the interviewer looking for a real accomplishment, like I improved sales by X%? So how specific should we be with our accomplishments?
Really specific.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to say you are the best and this is what I did. You heard me say to Michael, I had 95% placement rate, right? I think I did say that. Yeah. I mean, he would be a fool not to hire me. Okay, really? Right. I mean, that's terrific that I was able to get 95% of people hired on my job. you know, and that's just what he's looking for. So why shouldn't I let him know? You know, you need to make yourself the best candidate in the world. You need to cheerlead for yourself. You need to just be passionate. You need to show him, you know, Michael, you don't have to look around, honey. You found the right person. I'm right here. You know, that's what well, I can't tell him that, of course, but that's what you want to do. You want to toot your own horn. Okay, I could have also said to him, which is true, you can't see the back of our wall, but I do have 2 customer service awards that I won. I should have said that also. I forgot about that. You know, and that would say, wow, you know, she won these awards. She must be good with people. I mean, you know, so you just have to make yourself always look great. Okay, that's, you know, any questions about that, or can we move on?
I think we're moving on.
All right, so I'm trying to get to the really biggie question. Okay, from my how long ago can your, well, oh God, from 1922. No, you know, it doesn't matter, because he's not going to say to me, what year, Joyce, did you win those awards? Okay, he's going to just say, oh, you know, he's going to think, right. And I think I got it at Career Source, yeah, like in 2016 in March, and then I won it again in April. So I did both months I won it. But you know what? I wouldn't have even, I would have to look really, you know, but he would never say to me what year. I don't think he would. Yeah. So you go back as far as you could go back. Anything that makes you look good, you say, okay? Because I want Michael to hire me. I want this job.
You don't have to say when it was.
Right. You're not right. Exactly. I don't even remember when it was. This is relevant to my earlier question. Okay.
So
All
I'm going
right.
to scroll back up just 1 second, because I
Okay.
don't want this to keep coming up in the chat here.
No.
So Cindy asked about 30 minutes ago. 1 second. Bear with me. I'm sorry.
You want me to repeat it?
We've had a lot of interaction. A lot of okay. Cindy asked how to answer a question of I haven't been doing the tasks of the job recently.
Okay.
So that's what she wrote.
I haven't been doing the task of the job that she's interviewing for recently.
That's right.
Okay. You know what, Cindy? You could say to them, I maybe haven't been doing it recently, but I certainly are able to do it. You know, maybe I'll need a little bit of training, but look, you know, come on, I could definitely do it. You know?
Yeah,
so,
I mean, he
yeah.
said something about bringing in like big numbers, big amounts of money. And I said, I did do that in a previous position. So what if it wasn't last year, you know? I mean.
Right. No, you definitely bring that in. Definitely. Anything that makes you look good, bring in. It
Somebody
doesn't matter
told me too,
how
I
long ago
shouldn't
it was.
ask that question of, do you have any hesitancy about my background, my candidacy? But I was encouraged a long time ago to ask that question. Now people say, no, it's not a positive question, so don't ask it.
Yeah, I don't think I would ask that.
Yeah, so I'm not doing, scratch that question now.
No, I would definitely not ask that. Yeah.
Okay.
You just want to stay really positive. You know what I mean? And
Right.
you don't want to give them all your information. You just want to give them a taste of how good you are. They'll find out how good you are once you get the job. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So you want to give them just a little bit of, you know, oh, okay, she placed 95%. So, wow, if she could do that there in Dade County, she could definitely do it in Broward County. You know, I just giving Michael a little taste of what I did in Miami so that he would bring me over in Broward. Now, who knows? I might not like Broward County. I might do terrible. He doesn't know that. But I would never tell him that. You know, I would, you know what I mean? I would always be positive. If I could do it there, I could do it here. Yeah, so just, yeah, be aware of that. All right, can I move on? Yeah.
Catherine has a question. Catherine,
Okay.
this is a dicey question that I think could backfire. She wants to know, can you talk about pay raises when you're being interviewed? I assume that you wouldn't want to say specific amounts, but I ended up with a 30% pay increase over 3 years. So is that something that you should talk about in the job interview in terms of how good you are? Well, my past employer gave me, you know, a 30% pay increase over 3 years.
Yes. Yeah, she was probably really good at her job to get that. I would definitely say that. Absolutely.
So you wouldn't hesitate to talk about past pay raises at previous jobs?
Well, if it was something that made me look good, you
Right.
know, I would definitely say that. But there's a question here about salary. So if we
Right.
can get to that.
We'll
Yeah.
get to that. Okay.
Yeah, right, I'm hoping. Okay,
All right. I think we can move on to question 5, is it?
5. Okay.
Yep.
What time is it? Okay, we still have 20 minutes. Okay, go
Yep.
on. Okay,
Mandel,
yes.
why are you leaving your current position?
Okay, well, Mr. Mandel, I am leaving my current position because I am moving to Broward County, and I will be living in the Fort Lauderdale area instead of the Miami area, number 1. Number 2, the job that has been advertised here involves a little bit more of training, which I'm not doing in Miami, which I'd like to do in Fort Lauderdale. And number 3 is I feel that there'll be a lot more professional growth here in Fort Lauderdale in this position rather than my position in Miami. Also, another part of why I'm leaving my current position is because I feel that at this point, I can't go any further in the job, where I feel that here, yeah, there's really much more of a growth pattern. Okay, and I just feel that I would do, I just think it's a better fit now in my life, especially professionally. Okay, so what you don't want to say is, okay, Michael, I'm leaving my job in Miami because I hate what I do. I don't like my boss. I don't like the people I work with. The salary is terrible. I'm bored. You never want to say that. You never want to take dirty laundry from one position and bring it into another position. Because how do I know that Michael, the person that's interviewing me, isn't friendly with my boss in Miami? I have no idea. Maybe he's married to somebody that works for my company in Miami. How do I know that? So if I'm bad-mouthing them, eventually I'd probably badmouth him, is what he would think. So you can't say that. You have to be very careful of why you're leaving a job. It could be salary, it could be transportation issues, you want to be closer, it could be professional growth. It could be anything that's positive, that's wanting you to go from one position to the other. But you never, ever, ever want to badmouth anybody, and you never want to burn your bridges. Never burn your bridges. I'm telling you, because that could be fatal. It could, because you never know people. You never know who they know. You never know how they could sabotage you, right? That's what I really think. So I think it's really important not to do that, and to just give other reasons of why you would like to leave your current position. All right, are there any questions with that?
Yeah, so question, what if your position was eliminated?
It was eliminated?
Yeah.
Okay, it's not there anymore. I could understand why you're looking for something else.
Yeah, so just come right out and say it.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Or even if, excuse me, even if you were fired, let's just say I was fired from my job in Miami. I just didn't like it anymore. I was fed up, I was fired. And Michael was interviewing me. I would be honest. I would say, look, it just didn't work out. It wasn't what I wanted. I want more training. I wanted to be closer to where I live. The money just didn't make me happy anymore. So I would be honest with him. I wouldn't trash the person that fired me, but I would tell him the truth. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah,
Does
I would, because
Yeah, no, I think that's the key, right? Don't burn your bridges. Don't trash your past employers. That's never a good look. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Joyce? Or does anyone want to answer question 5 themselves?
you know what, Robert, really fast. just to tell a little story. When I was an employment specialist, I did work for 15 years in Broward County, in Fort Lauderdale. And I had a great boss who I'm still in touch with. But to tell you the truth, I was tired of the job. I did want to change jobs. I wanted to go more into training. And he said to me, no, I already have a trainer. I can't fill your position, Joyce. It's just really hard to fill. You're going to have to stay where you are. And I said, well, I'm going to start looking for another job. This is what I told him. And he said, well, I'll tell you something. If you start to look for another job, you need to tell me. I said, okay, I will. He said, because if I find that you're looking for another job and you're not telling me, I know so many people that you'll never get hired. He did say that to me. And I thought, wow, you know what? I can't burn this bridge, right? That's a bad bridge to burn. So you just, you have to be careful and you have to be very honest.
Mhm.
Yeah. From Robert Hayes.
Yeah.
This is
So
okay.
let's move on to our next question, Joyce.
Okay. Okay, Michael.
Mandel, what are your main strengths?
Okay, my main strengths are, number one, I'm very motivated. I'm a team player. I'm very focused on my job. I'm enthusiastic, and I'm a very positive person. Okay, so I just named, I don't know if you guys know about soft skills, but I just named about 5 soft skills that would tell Michael my main strengths. I could have also said that I'm a very hard worker, that I'm very empathetic, I'm compassionate, all of that. Okay, so main strengths, you don't fall into the trap of reeling off. Okay, instead focus on 3 or 4 key strengths that make you suited to the role. And all of the strengths that I said were job related to what he's looking for. Because to be a good employment specialist, you would need all of those strengths. Okay, especially the compassion part, because you're working with people that don't have jobs. So you really have to be empathetic and compassionate. Okay, so that's a good question also. And if you guys could Google, or I could send this to Robert, I can email this to you. There's a whole list of soft skills that are really good to use. Do you want me to scan those to you?
That would be great, Joyce. And Joyce, if you could also provide me with the 15 questions from today, that would be great as well.
Ah, for more money. No, yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely. Okay, from cabinets accounting clerk, but want to get at finance. Okay, so are there any questions you want me to answer, or should I go on, or?
Well, why don't we move on? We can circle back to Catherine's. It's kind of a long one, but does anyone else have any other questions or comments, or can we move on to question 7?
Okay.
Yeah, let's
All
move.
right.
So we had about 13 minutes, so let's move on.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Right. So just to be clear, we're not going to get to all 15, and I kind of mentioned that at the beginning. I think realistically we'll get to maybe 8 to 12. So we're
Okay,
in the
doing good.
ballpark, Joyce.
We still have 13 minutes. So
That's right. So let's keep going.
Yeah. So we're moving on. Okay, next, Michael. 8.
Ms. Mandel, why do you want to work here?
Well, I want to work here because I Googled the company, I researched the company, and I found that it has been here for a very long time. And I've also spoken to a lot of people that work here, and they're very happy with the company, with the benefits, with the salary. And I just think that it would be a very good fit for me. I also like the idea that I wouldn't be traveling a lot, and it would be close to where I live. So I would, be able to cut down on that. And most important of all, I want to work here because I know I could do a great job for you. And I know I could, really help to find people jobs, in this area. Okay, so why do you want to work here? The question gives you the perfect opportunity to show that you have thoroughly researched the company. Glad I said that. You're applying to. It's your chance to show that you have a good understanding of the role and what is required of you. Excuse me. Explaining how this job will help you with your personal growth. So in other words, you want to make sure you research the company before you interview. It's really important. Google it. And try to maybe speak to people maybe that are with the company, that work for the company, because you want to make sure that you know enough information to tell the person that's interviewing you, because I think that would definitely make a difference. he would say, wow, she knows a lot about the company, and that's something that I kind of like. And nowadays you have Google, so you can research anything, so you want to work there, or maybe I want to work there because Michael's offering me 2 days virtual. You see what I mean? Where I would be able to stay home and work from home and then spend the other days in the office. Okay, so there's a lot of reasons why you would want to work at a place. The most important thing is to research the place and to make sure that you know exactly what you're getting into, and what you could tell the person so that they know that you did your homework. Okay.
Mhm.
All
So does
right.
anyone have any questions or comments on why do you want to work here? Any questions for Joyce on how to attack a question like that?
Okay.
All right, so I don't see any comments or questions, and I've lost track. I think we're on question 8.
Okay.
And Joyce, so we're probably going to have time for a few more questions. If you
Okay.
could make sure one of those questions has to do with salary, I think you
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
that would be great, because we have had a couple of folks ask about salary.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, but I'm going to do something a little bit differently with this.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Okay, now I got it. Okay, so what are your salary expectations? So I'm gonna not answer it. I'm gonna answer it by reading this. Usually you will have a good idea about the salary on offer is an offer. So answering this shouldn't be too difficult. Suggest a range of pay you would be happy with, but do not name a specific amount. Do your research into the industry and what other companies pay their employees for the same role to inform your answer before the interview. So you're really going to have to do research to find out, how much they're offering for the job, the range. Because let's say with my job as an employment specialist, I think when I took it with Ron, I think it was started at 35 and went up. And they said, I would start at 35 because I never did the job before. And then of course I kept going up and up and up. So usually they give you a range and they'll start you low, probably, if you have never done the job, right? Yeah, because you're a new employee. Okay, so you have to suggest a range of pay you would be happy with, but do not name a specific amount. And I think that's really a smart thing to do. I couldn't say to Ron, my boss, you have to start me at 40. I mean, that wouldn't have been right. He said, Joyce, you never did the job before. I'm going to start you at 35. And then if I'll see how you do, and then you'll get you'll get so-and-so an increase. And that's what he did through the years. He was very good like that.
Yeah, so I think that makes sense. Do your research, find out what the comparable pay is for folks with your experience in that line of work, and then give a range. Catherine has a good comment. Have you considered maybe turning it around on them and asking them what is the budgeted range for this position?
Oh yeah, you definitely do that. Absolutely. The only thing is you don't want to leave an interview without knowing the salary. You see what I mean? You want to make sure you know that, going in and going out. You don't want to be in there and not have any idea of what you're going to ask for. You have to, you really have to do your research. Normally it's posted with the job description.
And Sarah raises a good point, and we actually touched on this a few months ago with an attorney we had in. But she mentions that in Massachusetts, they just passed legislation to prohibit asking what you last earned because women were being given lesser salaries. Women are underpaid generally, and as a result, if they were underpaid at their last job, they would be underpaid at this job if they were using that as a guide.
Right.
Let me see here. Pat has a question. An application has a line to fill in the salary request. How can this be handled? So Pat, are you saying you can't do a range? You have to give a dollar amount? I mean, give a range if you can. So what if you can't give a range, Joyce, and you have to give a dollar amount?
Well, then you have to give it.
Yeah.
I don't think that could ever happen though, do you? I think you always have, you can always give a range between 35 and 40, 60 and 80, you know what I mean? I think once you give that.
Application, not on an application, especially if it's on the computer, there's no way you can give a range. They force you and you can't go further unless you put a number in.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I would put a number in, I guess. I would try to, think of or research it and see, what people are paying for that particular position. That's kind of hard, because you really don't know. Did you do that recently?
Yes, and I always go on Glassdoor and try and look and see if anybody from that company has given any salary information, or like you said, just look for average salaries for that job and go there, but it's very frustrating.
Yeah, I bet it is. I bet it is. Yeah.
We have someone in the chat saying that there's an initiative in some states, so there may not be in Massachusetts, where the pay scales must be included in the job description. So that's interesting. Wouldn't that be nice if that was included in every job description?
But every job, but most job descriptions do have the salary range.
Yes, yeah, I would think so, right? Most do.
Because I know when Michael worked for the county, it was required. And every time he would, try to go for a promotion, they would give the range of the salary, and that's why he went after the job, because it was more money.
Yeah,
but
so
they had to do that.
Laura says that that's generally only required with government jobs, which maybe makes
government
sense.
and county. Yeah, that's kind of true. Yeah,
because I only look at government jobs myself. Well, first of all, I'm not looking at any jobs, but sometimes I have to post jobs, so I'm only dealing with government jobs. Okay, we've got a lot of questions pop up in the last few minutes here. Stephen says, you're saying for the initial interview, you should leave with having minimally a range. If they say they are not willing to discuss initially, what is the response? So I guess in this scenario, you're being asked your salary expectations. What if they don't ask you that question? Is that a question you should proactively ask?
Oh, definitely.
And what if they're, to Stephen's point, and maybe this would happen, what if they're not willing to disclose what their range is? What if he said, or what if they're not willing to discuss money in the initial interview?
Well, then they would probably say to Stephen, we're not discussing money now. We would call you back for the second interview, and that's when we're going to go over the salary range. But usually you definitely should have some idea of what the job pays, whether it's put into a job description or whether you research it. Or advertisements, you should be aware of what they're offering, or I wouldn't go for the interview. It is different in the private sector, Carly. You're right. But my boss was in the private sector, and when he interviewed me, he gave me a range, definitely, with the job description. So some private sectors do that. If not, and they don't say anything about salary, I definitely think, and you should ask though. You should find out. State jobs will have salary, yes, but not a lot of private places. Correct. Some job titles or something who said a salary range may not be clear. No, that's true also. It's a very iffy kind of thing. You just have to kind of be careful. When some titles are unique. Yeah. Do we have time for one more question?
Let's squeeze one more in, Joyce.
Say that again.
Let's do one more. Yep.
Okay, one more. Let's do a good one. Okay. Okay, Michael, what about this?
Ms. Mandel, tell me about an achievement you're proud of.
Okay, an achievement that I'm proud of is when I worked as an employment specialist, and my job was to try to get people jobs. And I had a young lady that just got a GED from high school and really didn't want to work. And so I had to motivate her to work. And I found her a job in Starbucks, where she told me she hated coffee. But I said, oh, don't worry, you'll start to like coffee and blah, 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 blah. And she got hired, and she worked at the Starbucks actually down the street from us in Fort Lauderdale. and she actually liked the job. She did a great job. She was there for 5 years.
Asabi, I know you have a phone call. This is.
Oh, sorry, I muted. There was somebody who unmuted and was having a personal conversation. Sorry.
Okay, so should I go on? Yeah. real
You should
fast?
go on. Sorry about that.
Okay, no question. And what happened with her was she got promoted, and she got promoted to a manager down the street from us. And I would go and I'd visit her, and I would think to myself, I can't believe it. This is somebody that didn't want to work, that had no confidence in herself, and I just never gave up. And I was really proud of myself for not giving up. Well, it turns out she got transferred to Seattle, has a big job now at Starbucks, has a house, has a car, got married, has kids, and I still keep in touch with her. So that, to me, did I do a great job? Maybe, but I was so proud of her, and that I achieved what I wanted to, wanted to do. So that really is something that I was very proud of. So when you get asked this question, you have to really think about something. Think about something that you've done that you're proud of that could reflect on the job that you're interviewing for. That's important. And I'm interviewing for an employment specialist, so Michael would be a fool not to hire me. Okay, that's what I think.
So folks, any comments or questions surrounding, tell me about an achievement you're proud of? And while folks think that over, here's a question from Sarah regarding how do you broach the question of, next steps, or, when will I hear back from you? Is that something you just directly state at the end of the interview, or how would you handle that?
Well, I would say at the end of the interview, I would say to Michael, Mr. Mandel, thank you so much for seeing me and for interviewing me. And I'm very interested in the position, and I was wondering what the next step would be.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. And then Michael would have to say, well, we're going to call you back for a second interview. And, and then we'll talk about other issues, maybe money or other things then. And my secretary, or, we'll email you and let you know the date. Yeah, I would definitely put that in at the end.
Right. Yeah.
What,
D says, what is your timeline for filling this
yeah,
role?
you could definitely
could
ask
ask it
that
that way.
too, right. How long will it take for me to get the second interview, or when are you looking to, fill this position, any of that. Yeah.
Sandy will ask, do you have a lot of applicants for the job? And do you have any internal candidates?
Yeah,
so I suppose you could ask that. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a tricky question because, can you give me a start date? That's a tricky question because, well, Michael could tell you, when he interviewed for personnel in Miami, they would work really hard on trying to find the best person, and then they would give their person to his boss, and his boss would say, thank you so much for your hard work, but we already have somebody. Who? Somebody's son-in-law, somebody's brother-in-law, somebody that's connected to the county. Lots of times they advertise and they have, and they have every people in mind already, but you don't know that. Yeah.
All right, so I think, Joyce, we'll end it there. I didn't see any questions or comments regarding the last question you answered, and we have come up on 3 o'clock. So let me type that in the chat there. So I think we're good. So I think the key thing, Joyce, would be to email me the 15 questions. And if you have any commentary you want to email me with those 15 questions, I'll take that. And then if you want to give me a list of soft skills, that's actually a good segue for next week. So if you have a soft skills list,
that's right. You're doing that next week, so forget it. Yeah.
And yeah, so folks, I'll email you all later today with this recording and the transcript, feedback survey, and information about our other upcoming virtual job seeker programs. So let's give Joyce a big virtual round of applause. Thanks so much, Joyce. Enjoy the sunny weather of Florida. Okay,
it's a little cloudy.
Oh, a little cloudy. Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's a little cloudy, Robert. The sun hasn't been out. Well, no, I think the sun is coming out. But I want to say one thing before we leave, okay?
Yeah.
Just one thing. Okay. You can have the best cover letter, the best resume, everything could be beautiful, wonderful, beautiful. If you can't interview, you'll never get the job. My advice is to practice, practice, practice. practice with your husband, your wife, your partner, your friend in front of the mirror. You know, just let them keep asking you the questions so that when somebody asks you the questions and you're getting interviewed, you'll just like pull it right out. You know what I mean? So just, yeah. And it's, so that's my, that's my advice.
Yeah, a lot of good practical advice from lots of experience being being an employment specialist. So we appreciate everything you've offered, Joyce. Thanks for being so generous with your time. Also, a big shout out to Michael for helping you out. Thank you, Michael.
You better hire me, Robert.
There you go. There you go. All right.
Yeah, or else forget it. Marriage is over, you know?
Happy wife, happy life. Okay. So
Right, exactly.
Thank you all, and everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Okay.
All right, and I will scan the material to you by tomorrow. Is that okay?
That'd be great. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.